Okay, Susan, please spell your name.
Susan, S-U-S-A-N, Pfefferman, F-E-F-F-E-R-M-A-N.
Okay, great. So if you could describe an ideal community for the unification movement, what would it look like?
Well, I think at its core, obviously, based on Father's teachings, it's a community that is focused on living for the sake of others. And that means on many different levels. I like the idea of the small group, which at its core has unificationists, but then embraces others from the neighborhood or from some other way that we've met or run into people, so that naturally we socialize and worship and study and do many things together. And of course, it helps when the kids are similar ages, and But having been a pastor a number of times in the church, I know that it's not always easy for our kids to reach out to non-unificationists. They themselves feel different or feel estranged, and they don't know how many times to include kids who are not our members, not blessed per se. But I do think our church is changing, so that is happening bit by bit. I have lived with several families over the years, and it's really tough. You have to, when you live under the same roof, there are many challenges. The way that people serve their families, treat their kids, kids treat the parents, but it really, the most successful times have been when the parents were of one mind. And for a while, about a year, Beverly Burnt and her 4 kids lived with us. Her husband was looking for a job elsewhere. And I really loved it, because she really had the attitude to serve me and serve us. And we put all the kids together, and we told the kids, this is your job, this is this. And then they just took it, because I was talking not to my kids, she was talking not to her kids. And it was wonderful. And we even had family meetings where they talked. It was a miracle. But that was, many, many years ago. Yeah, about 20 years ago, actually. But I think where our church is at, we're now moving more towards embracing others, making room for others, not being so narrow. Where I live now, there's one family down the block, 2 blocks over there's another family, another block over there's another family, 6 blocks there, 5 blocks there. And so actually I feel that our neighborhood has members, and we can introduce our neighbors and whoever we meet to other members, and that's really good. But there's still, a lot of challenges, people's attitudes, their fallen nature, their unwillingness to change or to be accepting. We had a small group of 5 families, and it went on all right for a while, but then eventually I stepped out of the group. I had always brought my mother, who's not a member. She's got dementia, so she doesn't really know what's going on, but one guy in particular was very rude and wanted to talk about the drama in the church in front of my mother, and loud enough so my mother could hear, and I felt this was abusive, and so I stepped out of the group, and the group fell apart because of it. So that was not a happy community because of one guy. And he was abusive to his wife too, and I called him on that. I don't put up with abuse, verbal or otherwise. But, and that way then my inability to embrace him caused the group to end. We're still friends with all the couples, but I don't leave a lot of room for him, which is the first time in my life I've ever done that. But it was because he was not able to embrace a non-unificationist who happened to be my mother. And so, you know, we're all short. We have to, you know, we have shortcomings. But, you know, I like the Jones situation because there's a brother and his son downstairs, and they give and take, and the area leaves it open for a lot of families to come. Our house is always open, and my husband has Bible study and men's group, and you know, we have family gatherings and all kinds of things, and our home is always available in that sense. So we try to build community in that way by being generous and open and available. And when somebody's in difficulty, I try to help them if I can. I try to be a community member that way, a sister or a friend. But, you know, and some people I've heard they bought land together and are building houses. But it's like living together. You have to have an agreement because it isn't always easy. Yeah. But ultimately, we have to be an example for others. There's one minister who's the ACLC leader from Baltimore. And he lives in the inner city. He lives in a difficult place, and his church is filled with people with very many difficult problems. Marriage is the biggest problem. His wife almost left him because of his relationship with us. But I think, you know, eventually she calmed down enough. And he said, I wish you unificationists could live in your front yards, so that people could see how you relate to one another and how you take care of one another.
Actually, that leads exactly to my second question, which is, if you could describe the Family Federation for World Peace, what would it look like?
Well, it doesn't exist anymore. We went back to the UC, which I thought was a great thing. But it's an extension of the blessed family community. It's being active in a broader sense, whether it's political or economic or environmental or whatever. I think that a family federation would be multiplying itself into other families and then taking on responsibility for building the external world.
Well, maybe a more specific question would be, where would it live, or how would it live?
Anywhere there's a blessed family.
It's plural.
Yeah.
Federation of families. Where would be the address of it?
Well, I think Father's idea is to have us in any corner of the world. So I don't think there's a specific address. I think there's all addresses. And, you know, if a blessed family moves into a neighborhood, then they begin to influence and love